Yeah, I mean, all credit to the team. We had a lot of great people working on that for sure.
And I think that goes and kind of shows some of the passion that there is for this project, because people really want to put in a lot of extra things. And even TJ was kind of touching on that a little bit, whereas, people want you guys haven't said no a lot. And I think that, with the extra production time has helped on that, but just the overall excitement you guys have for the project has really turned no into yes on a lot of things. And from my perspective in Burbank, I think that's a really, really cool part of how this has been going.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, we're excited about it. I feel like everybody in the studio is just focused on making the best possible co-op Ratchet and Clank game, and pretty driven to make things happen for sure.
So before we talk about jobs a little bit, I have one last question for you guys. How awesome is your game?
How awesome is it? Mm-hmm. Extraordinarily.
Yeah. Extraordinarily awesome?
Yeah.
How awesome do you think it is?
I'd say it's very awesome.
I'd say it's so awesome.
I think it's extremely awesome.
Backslap each other now. All right.
Yeah.
So we did have a mystery guest scheduled for this panel, but unfortunately it was the last-second cancellation, so we don't have a mystery guest for this panel, and I apologize.
Can you write down who it was? Because he wouldn't tell us before.
Oh, here. I'm writing it down, really cool. But it didn't end up happening, and it's kind of unfortunate. Because it was a good one.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That would have been awesome.
Pretty high.
WTF, man.
I know. It's sort of a bummer that they couldn't
Sir
make
Peter
it.
O'Toole? My goodness.
Yeah.
I would have been
That's
honored.
what I was hoping it would be.
Then we had Spielberg for a couple hours, but then he pulled out. So
it says Justin Bieber on there, actually.
Yeah.
So
I
we
just
lost
found out who that is, too.
Justin
I'm so
Bieber.
with it now, yeah. He's this kid. He's an actor. Or a singer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who got a Lamborghini
neither.
for his 16th birthday. Yeah. So off topic. Who doesn't? What? He gets hit in the head with bottles, right? Oh, he does get hit in the head with bottles. I think I was actually at Staples Center the next night or a few days later, and they weren't selling any, or they weren't giving you bottles of water. They were pouring it out in a beer cup. We're like, what the hell? I'm like, oh, someone hit Justin Bieber in the face with a bottle of water.
I watched that video so many times. I've got an unhealthy hatred for that kid.
So you're getting a little crowd interaction going. We'll have more of that coming up, but I did want to spend a few minutes because people do love our Who Wants Your Job segment, and so this is going to be a quick Who Wants Your Job in North Carolina. And I want to talk kind of about what you guys are looking for when you look for people who come to work in North Carolina, and what your process has been for the folks that you have hired.
Sure. Well, I mean, the first thing that we do is look at the work, and we're looking for just insane talent. I mean, above everything else, everybody we hire has to be absolutely ridiculously good at what they do, and further, they have to be able to demonstrate it. So, if we're looking at an art portfolio, the portfolio has to be absolutely top notch, of the highest quality. If we're looking at a design portfolio, we look for actual work that's either in published games or really beautiful little demos. Sean can probably talk more about what we're looking for programming.
I mean, generally on the programming side, especially if they're in gameplay programming, which are kind of it's a hybrid discipline between design and programming. For those people, the best thing to see is a game. I mean, especially I remember there's this one game. I always give it a shout out anytime I hear it. It's made by a kid. Applied to us. His name is Blake Edwards. The game is called Owlboy. It's a 2D side scroller where you play a boy that is also an owl. I mean, the title is great, and it's incredibly charming. It's very simple, but it's fun as heck. And that to me says more than anything. Kind of like the portfolio analog in the gameplay programming domain is a game. So, and it doesn't have to be. And it really can't be. It can't be, Gears of War or something like that. But just having something that's really simple and fun and done, finished. I mean, that goes farther than anything.
And then after we look at the portfolio, the next step for us is a skills test, and we do this for every position. And this is usually something that can be accomplished in less than a week. That really shows, firsthand how somebody's going to tackle the type of challenge that we deal with every day. So it's a very real world test for the studio, and the way the candidate responds to that test tells us so much. I mean, can they get it done on time? Is it the type of quality that we're looking for? Does it kind of fit the style that we're after? Because we give quite a bit of direction about that sort of thing.
Revisions as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like sometimes we'll ask people to revise their work, and that tells you a ton, because that happens to us constantly, all the time. We're having to revise our work, and it is really surprising. Like sometimes you will get candidates that get totally bent out of shape. In a bad way. It's not like they're trying to make an argument for why they're right. They're just, they're really prickly about it, and that can tell you something. about the candidate.
Yeah, definitely. And so after that, I think in the North Carolina studio, we do an interview type that is fairly grueling. I mean, first we'll do a phone interview, but then when we bring somebody on site, we're fortunate because we're small enough so that everybody in the studio can meet a candidate. So we can really, get a sense of how somebody's going to fit in with the team from those interviews. And, we don't always agree about everything after we discuss how everything went afterwards. But, people can pick up on things, especially in their unique discipline, that tell us a lot about how that person is going to fit in and how they're going to be able to go along with the team dynamic we have, which is very collaborative. We're a studio where everybody contributes to just about every part of the game all the time. So it's not a studio where you put your headphones on and don't talk to everybody else for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. It's a studio where you're going to do your work, but you're going to do it in the context of the game and really work closely with everybody else to make it happen. And if that sounds like fun, then we're probably the kind of place where somebody's going to do well. But if it sounds like, well, I don't like the constant interruption, I mean, that's a good sign to us that maybe it's not going to be the best fit.
So when you look at people that are just trying to break into the industry for the first time, what's the kind of advice that you guys would give them?
Well, I think for me, I'd say it all starts with your portfolio, what you can show. I mean, that is the most important tool that anybody has if you're trying to break into the industry. And that can come in all kinds of different forms, but I think the one key thing that we generally like to see is fewer better pieces. Like sometimes I don't want to see a deluge of work to go through. I just want to see what you feel is your very best work. And Chad can probably speak more to the art side of things.
It's a really good point. Editing is really important, and I would much rather see 10 near perfect pieces of work than 30 pieces of work where 10 of them are near perfect and 20 are kind of subpar. Because you can't help but think, well, maybe there are some judgment issues going on here. If you see the stuff that isn't as good, you want people who can kind of understand how to assess the quality of what they're doing and kind of edit when they need to. So yeah, I always say don't be afraid to show just the best stuff. It's absolutely critical that you just put your best foot forward if you're applying. Also, I have this conversation pretty frequently. A lot of programs, there are a lot of really good programs now for game development. And, many of them are rigorous, and they don't always lead to a portfolio at the end of the program. I mean, some do, and some people can certainly manage to pull that off. But sometimes it is really good to just take a few months after school and get the portfolio together. I mean, there are a lot of resources online, a lot of things out there to help. Put the best thing out there that you possibly can. And that's what I did. I mean, I graduated. I didn't have my work together completely, but I thought, I know this is what I want to do. So I just spent some time on my own, just like working in a candy store, actually, while I, just kept at it, just to try to make things happen. So, I mean, there's also a little message I want to say in that too, which is don't give up. It can be difficult to get started, but things tend to work out if you really want to stick with it.
Did you really work in a candy store?
Yeah,
I've been there in Savannah.
It was called River Street Sweets, and I made pralines and also taffy. And sometimes there was
River
singing.
Street Sweets, ladies and gentlemen.
That's funny. I never knew that about Chad. I learned something on the Full Moon Show occasionally from time to time.
I had an awesome apron as well.
The don't give up part is really important because it is tough to get a job, and a lot of the time, I know exactly how it is because I remember you'll look on something. And you find the company that you want to work for more than anything, and then it says 4 to 5 years experience minimum. You have to be able to do all of these things. You have to have shipped 6 titles or something like that. And just be persistent. Don't be annoying about it, but just apply for those things. Because a lot of the time, we'll have a posting up there that might include some language like that. But we're really just looking for the best person to fill that job. And sometimes, it's awesome to have somebody that's fresh in the industry. Like I've seen a lot of it, in gameplay programmers. Like I always think it's really cool to see what they add because there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot, and it just they're learning new techniques that add things. So I would say just from that perspective, don't be totally intimidated when it seems like they only want, super, super senior people.
And you certainly don't need a game-specific degree or need to go to a game program that ends up with you having a portfolio. If you have the desire and the drive to do it, and you do it on your own and outside, I mean, you can go to a good computer science program somewhere or a good art program somewhere and then do the work on your own on the side. And really, if you're in that kind of situation, that's what you want to be doing. You want to be building, models or drawing concept art all the time and painting concept art all the time, or whatever it is you want to do. You should be doing it in your spare time in those years, because that's kind of like your job at that point, is to build a portfolio. And that portfolio and that body of work that you complete is what will get you hired. And then your work at future companies will continue to get you hired beyond that. So really, I mean, think of that, as your job on the side. And you're not getting paid for it yet, but it will pay off for you in the long run if you invest a lot of time into it. So with that, we're about 40 minutes into the Full Moon Show here, and I want to open it to a community session here, and we've got a good little group audience in here, so thank you guys all again for coming. We're going to take your questions now. You can ask about getting a job. You can ask about Insomniac. You can ask about Ratchet. You can tell TJ how much you love his accent. From Jersey.
It is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
TJ, don't call me Snooky Fixman.
An awesome dog.
Please, God, don't let that nickname stick.
Oh, it's going to. I'm going to make sure it does. So there's a mic in the center of the room, and then after you've asked a question, please feel free to raid the giant pile of swag that I brought, because I really don't want to take it back to LA with me. So yeah, if you just stand in line. And by asking us a question, you are consenting to appear on the Full Moon Show when we release this via iTunes later this week, just in case you were wondering.
That was good. That was very well practiced.
Yes.
Fine print.
I did it in my head and in the shower all day today.
Already.
There's an image.
Before when a game goes gold, what's your guys' feeling or
Agitation.
Relief.
Let me start right there.
Oh, when it goes gold?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was thinking right before.
It's really I have a very interesting reaction. I'm totally of the mind of when that game is done, I don't know what to do with myself, and it's almost like I'm kind of sad, because you build yourself into a frenzy trying to get something done, and that's my favorite part. Like, I love getting the game done. It's just like it's a very weird feeling. Like, Chad, I don't know if it's similar for you, but I mean, a lot of the times I just feel kind of bummed out for a few days, and I'm like, and I might immediately go on vacation. I don't know what to do with myself.
No, that's it exactly. You put so much energy, especially at the end, into trying to pull everything together and making sure it all happens, and then it's like, well, what do I do with myself now? I forget what it's like to watch a TV show.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try to do it. I feel like I should be working on something. This isn't right, and that goes on for a couple days, and then eventually we rejoin the real world, and things kind of get back to normal a little bit.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, hi there. You guys are on a development side, but I'm coming from a marketing background. I'm trying to figure out working for a smaller video game company would be awesome. I'm trying to figure out what's the best path in, because a lot of you guys are programming or your art, and so coming from someone that's more business oriented, how would you go into the game industry?
It's a good question for James, I think.
Yeah, so my background's interesting because I kind of did a lot of games journalism, and was sticking with that for quite some time until I made the transition over. Like my good friend Chris Baker, who's sitting back there and now is awesome and works for Marvel and worked for LucasArts. He's pretty much worked for every nerdy thing that he loves along the way. So not Insomniac yet. Someday. We'll rule the world together. So I think from that aspect, it is a lot about relationships at that point. So coming to events like this and meeting people and figuring out ways to just, show them stuff or bounce ideas off of them and show the work that you have done. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to do PR, then maybe there's websites out there that need help, spreading the word about them. Or if it's marketing, then figuring out, how to make banner ads for them or share things. There's a lot of places where you can do some work and then show examples of that work. And I think showing initiative like that is going to put you ahead of about 90% of the other candidates. And when you start doing those sort of things, you get into a very small pool of people, and there's always opportunities, and there's always movement. And if one person from one company takes another job at a different company and beats you out, now their position's open somewhere else. So, keep working at it hard. And I think as especially community is sort of the big thing right now. That's growing, and lots of kind of lower end community positions are opening up, and entry level community positions are opening up. And if you get in and you do a really good job, you can move up very fast and really control your own destiny at that point. So keep at it, but definitely look for opportunities to do what you're learning to do in real life, and show that to the people that you want to hire you.
Awesome, thanks.
No problem. Thanks.
I had two questions, actually. First, I read an article a few years back called Nice Guys Finish First that sort of described the collaborative spirit between Insomniac and Naughty Dog during the PS2 days. And I was wondering if that has survived to the PS3 days, because you guys both seem to be really on the cutting edge of what Sony's hardware can do each time. And I'm wondering if you guys are still helping each other out in that sense.